Hello everyone, this is Pooka and welcome to another Pokemon TCG video. We are going through all sorts of crazy decks now with the set Furious Fists legal for tournament play, and today is no exception. Today we are going to use Mega Heracross EX. Now, traditionally, Mega Pokemon have been terrible in competitive play. I can't really think of a deck that had too much success with a Mega Pokemon. The only one I can think of was actually a Mega Kangaskhan. Aromatisse deck did take top 4 at the World Championships this past year. So that's really the only one we've seen have any success because of this Mega Evolution rule. When one of your Pokemon becomes a Mega Evolution Pokemon, your turn ends. That's it. Your turn is over. And that's just a bad downside. Losing a turn for no real benefit is a bad thing. So, I think we all know why Mega Pokemon are so tough to use, but we're going to try anyway. Mega Heracross has 220 HP. Really wish it had 230, but we're going to have to live with it. Its attack, Big Bang Horn, does 180 minus 10 for each damage counter on this Pokemon. So if he's at full HP, we're doing 180 damage, which is actually a very large amount, right? I mean, that's knocking out pretty much everything in one shot besides another Mega Pokemon, which we're not really worried about. We don't really see too many of those. So, Big Bang Horn, the idea here with this deck is we're going to try to sweep with Mega Heracross. We'll probably give up a few prizes setting him up, but once we set him up, he's going to be knocking down Pokemon one by one with Big Bang Horn. Alright, so the downside here, obviously, is that he does less damage for damage counters on him. The way we're going to try to fix this is Dusknoir. This one, not the Sinister Hand one, the Shadow Void Dusknoir. So basically, this Dusknoir, his ability allows you to take damage from your other Pokemon and move it to Dusknoir. So every time Mega Heracross gets hit, we're going to move damage to Dusknoir and make Big Bang Horn do full damage once again. Pretty cool combo. We can also combine this with Max Potion, which we're going to play 3 of. Heals all the damage off one of your Pokemon. Normally, you have that nasty downside of discarding all your energy when you max potion a Pokemon, but Dusknoir allows you to move all the damage away from your Pokemon that has the energy, and then heal off the Dusknoir. So you're effectively healing off the damage completely without the downside of max potion. So we have a 2-2-2 Dusknoir line, just our damage soaker here. We may want a heavier line than this, but this is all I could really fit into this deck. It's a very difficult list to put together, and since it's not an immediate need to get Dusknoir into play, right, this is going to be a really slow deck. You need to get your Heracross EX into play, and then you need to Mega Evolve, and then you also need 3 energy, so it's going to take forever to actually get Mega Heracross up and running, so you actually have time to evolve through Dusclops and then into Dusknoir. We will still play 1 rare candy just to have that option to get a Dusknoir in play. You know, just an explosive turn, rare candy, Dusknoir. So we will play that, but otherwise we can actually just afford to do this. Okay, so Mega Heracross is going to be the focal point of the deck, but we do have some other stuff we can look at. Virizion EX is an obvious addition here. Verdant Wind protects you from Hypnotoxic Laser and other special conditions. And Emerald Slash is an alternative to manually attaching to Mega Heracross. Either route is a good one. Unfortunately, Emerald Slash doesn't have a whole lot of synergy with Mega Evolutions because turn 2 you would like to be using Emerald Slash, but you'd also like to be Mega Evolving, and you can't do both in the same turn. So if you use Emerald Slash, the soonest you'll be able to actually attack with your Mega Pokemon is turn 4, right? Turn 2 with Emerald Slash, turn 3 with Mega Evolve, turn 4, go. So, attacking with Virizion EX, it's kind of a toss-up whether or not it's good, but Verdant Wind is why he's here. Now, like I said, we are a very slow to set up deck, so we're actually running 2 of these Sigilif here, as Psychic does 50 plus 10. We're not worried about the attack. We're here for the ability. Most quick, hard-hitting decks are Pokemon EX, so if we can throw up a Safeguard Pokemon to stall for time, Sigilif is going to be great. All right, we just put him out there and say, okay, please don't knock him out. This is the perfect Pokemon to put up as your active Pokemon when you're going to Mega Evolve. It's a non-EX. EXs can't hurt it. It's just perfect. And you don't really care if it gets knocked out. All right, so 2 Sigilif just to buy some time. We also do run a couple Psychic Energy in case we want to attack with it. But it's nice to run the Psychic so we can attack with Sigilif. Or actually we could use Dusknoir at some point in a desperate spot to use Pain Pellets. It's a very rarely used attack, but it is an option, so might as well run a couple Psychics since Mega Heracross only needs 2 Grass for its attack. We have Mr. Mime. This is a very important Pokemon for this deck to block bench damage. Since Dusknoir is going to be moving damage to itself, sometimes it'll be left with like 10 or 20 HP and be a prime target for things like Hammerhead from Landorus EX, Frost Spear from Kyurem, Megalo Cannon from Genesect, Night Spear from Darkrai, the list goes on. So protecting your bench is just an awesome ability for one little basic Pokemon. Incredible. And this deck is going to be very clunky, so we're going to run a 1-1 line of Electrode as well. Magnetic Draw should help us smooth out our draws a little bit and give ourselves a little bit more of the options. So those are the Pokemon for the deck. It's a relatively straightforward concept, right? Just tank Mega Heracross and go, but very complicated to set up and very slow moving. All right, so let's look at the trainer section right here. We're going to run 4 Pokemon Fan Club. Unfortunately, Level Ball has rotated out, so getting those little basic Pokemon have become more difficult. Pokemon Fan Club allows us to search for 2 basic Pokemon. We're going to run 4 of these since we do want to start with them. 4N, pretty standard. 4 Professor Juniper, also fairly standard. 2 Skyla, and then 2 Colress as our supporters for the deck. We also have 1 Lysander since it's a pretty darn good card. Then the A-Spec is going to be Dowsing Machine. Since we have so many corners we have to cut, it's nice to be able to recover one of those trainer cards we may be skimping on otherwise. Speaking of skimping, let's look at the other cards we have here. We've already looked at the 1 Rare Candy. 1 Startling Megaphone. I would love to have 2 in the deck, but space is indeed an issue. So we're just going to run 1 and hope that 1 and a Dowsing Machine is enough to carry us to victory against Garbodor. We have 1 Switch, 1 Escape Rope. Again, pretty flimsy here. We have a lot of high retreating Pokemon. Heracross is a 3 retreater, I believe. So is Mega Heracross. Dusclops is a 2 retreater. Dusknoir a 3 retreat cost Pokemon. So only 2 switch cards. That's pretty risky. But again, we have the Dowsing Machine to fall back on just in case. We also have 1 Energy Switch. Just seems like a great card to always play with Virizion EX. Since if you do Emerald Slash, it's nice to be able to move an energy away from it. And when I was making this deck the first time, I was like, oh yeah, we can also power up Sigilif. Emerald Slash onto Sigilif, and then we'll have a nice Pokemon ready to attack with Psychic. And then I realized you cannot Emerald Slash onto Sigilif. So I wanted another way to power him up, and that would be Energy Switch. Okay. We do have 1 Evo Soda, since this can also be used to Mega Evolve, so it's a very versatile card. If you want a Skyla for Evo Soda, it's sometimes better than Skyla for Ultra Ball, where you'd have to discard 2 cards. Speaking of that, we are running 2 Ultra Ball, since it is a more flexible card. We've already looked at the 3 Max Potion, and we have 1 Professor's Letter as well, just to Skyla for this, search for our basic energy. And 2 Hard Charm. Now, this is not a card we see fairly often, but it makes a lot of sense in this deck. We want Mega Heracross to be taking as little damage as possible, and especially against things like Mewtwo EX and Evoltal EX. Just in general, we want Mega Heracross to survive, so reducing an attack by 20 can sometimes give you that extra defense you need to survive the turn. So Hard Charm seems like a card that really needs to be in this deck. Now our energy, just 7 grass. Usually you want more with Virizion EX, but again, we aren't looking to Emerald Slash too often, and we're hoping Mega Heracross doesn't ever get knocked out, because if it does, we've pretty much lost the game. All our eggs do go into that basket. So 7 grass, 2 psychic, and then we're actually going to run 2 herbal energy as well. So this can heal 30 off of your Pokemon. early on, people can target down Heracross with a Lysander or something like that. Maybe Landorus EX gets a Hammerhead off onto the Mega Heracross before we can get Mr. Mime into play. And Herbal Energy will allow you to remove that 30 damage. Great synergy with Mega Heracross, definitely. So we're going to run a couple of those. You could run 4, but I do want to leave the option to Emerald Slash. So we're just going to run 2 of these guys, 7 Grass, 2 Psychic. This deck is by no means optimized. I just kind of put it together, played a few games, and we're running with it. So there are certainly some improvements you could make to the deck. As an alternative to Dusknoir, I have seen people running Aromatisse and Rainbow Energy, since you can just move the energy off and then Max Potion the Mega Heracross. That's another way to go about it. Since that's the more common thing to do, though, I figured I'd show a different option. I think Dusknoir is a little cooler and not as widely seen. So that was a lot of explanation. Sorry about the long-winded explanation of everything, but it's a cool deck, I think, and I just wanted to take a look at it. So let's go ahead and take a look at a game I played on Pokemon TCG Online and see what happens here. Alright, so going to mulligan first off and then open up with Mr. Mime and Voltorb. Not the greatest starting Pokemon, but I think we're going to open up with Mr. Mime and then put the Voltorb on the bench. Since Voltorb could be potentially big, Mr. Mime might not be big if we don't face any bench-hitting Pokemon, but whoopsies, there is a big bench-hitting Pokemon, that Landorus EX. That's not good. So, of course, Hammerhead hits the bench, and I am very glad Pokemon cannot attack when you're going first anymore. Yuck, the strong energy, the muscle band, that's a 70 damage Hammerhead. So we're, in this matchup, I see Trubbish. I don't know if I'll ever be able to really use Electrode to its full potential. So I'm actually going to protect the Mr. Mime here. That may be more useful in the future. Go for the Juniper, and it's not a good start. Didn't get an energy attachment. I could have attached energy before the Juniper, but I was hoping to get an attachment on like a Virizion EX or a Heracross EX. But it looks like that's not the case. Herbal Energy is not a basic energy, so I can't put it down onto these non-grass Pokemon. If I had just put down an energy before the Juniper, could have energy switched and saved an attachment. So that's a very painful missed attachment right there. Not cool at all, but we'll have to try to work with it here and see what we can do. We do have a Pokemon fan club. We do have 2 energy attachments lined up and a Mega Heracross, also a Skyla. So the hand actually looks pretty decent. Again, it's just a very slow deck. It's going to take forever to do anything, and that's very scary when you think about how much pressure someone can put on with all these big EXs. Like, here comes Lucario EX, going to Missile Jab the Voltorb. Got Tails on the Destiny Burst. So Voltorb letting me down, not blowing up when he gets knocked out. And now I got to figure out who do I want to sacrifice to this Lucario. I think Dusknoir is going to be an important player at some point, so we're going to throw out the Mr. Mime as the sacrifice, and then Pokemon Fan Club here for Heracross EX, and then Sigilyph. Sigilyph's just going to be a sacrifice. Of course, Heracross going to be the Pokemon I'm trying to power up here. So we'll see what happens here. Go ahead, grab those 2, plop them down on the bench. Wish I could Mega Evolve, but I got to wait another turn. So we're going to go ahead and put them down and then pass the turn. So we're going to fall behind probably 2 or 3 prizes before we get going. And we'll see if we can, take advantage from there, get our setup going, and hopefully our strategy is powerful enough to overwhelm the opponent once we actually get all powered up. We do see Muscle Band and a second energy, and oh no, Lysander onto the Duskull. So it's going to be a Corkscrew Smash Knockout. I thought he might survive because of the fighting resistance, but nope, my opponent had the Muscle Band, unfortunately. But I do draw another Pokemon Fan Club. That was a pretty big top deck, actually. I'll be able to get another Duskull into play, along with Virizion EX to block Hypnotoxic Laser in the future. Get the second energy down onto Heracross EX and Mega Evolve. Mega Heracross has hit the field. Now, unfortunately, my 2 attachments were my 2 Herbal Energy, and those were almost wasted entirely. Would have loved to save those for a time where I could heal 30, but I need the attachment desperately. So we need to drop those down immediately. Okay, so things are not looking good. There's a Lucario EX with 2 energy barreling down on me. There's a Hypnotoxic Laser. Sigilyph is protected by Safeguard, but there is a Float Stone on that bench Trubbish. So, I mean, Garbotoxin could be coming out at any moment when Garbodor comes out. And if that's the case, the Laser and the Corkscrew Smash will add up to a knockout. And that's not something I am particularly looking forward to. Well, I do have Mega Heracross ready to go. So if I just get 1 more energy, I can get a knockout and start putting up some offense here. But it's still a scary spot. I don't really know what's going to happen. We will have to see. I don't have Dusknoir out yet, so probably going to go for the Juniper next turn and try to draw a bunch of stuff. I'd love to see a Hard Charm, start protecting that Mega Heracross. But there is the Garbodor. This is going to be a big problem now that's going to shut off 3 of my Pokemon in play. Sigilyph, Mr. Mime, and Verzini X have become almost useless, so that's beautiful. And then Dusknoir, if it were to come out, also going to be useless. So there's the Corkscrew Smash and the Knockout, and now we're left trying to figure out what to do next. So, going to promote the Mega Heracross since seems like I have to start doing something now. Down 3 prizes seems like a good time to start attacking. So I'm going to Professor's Letter and grab a Grass Energy. Could grab the Psychic just to keep my options, or the reason I'm not grabbing the Psychic is just to keep the options open. If I do want to attack with Sigilyph or perhaps Dusknoir in the future, but that's alright. Going to go ahead and Ultra Ball here. I was hoping to get the Hard Charm, didn't get it, but I should be safe next turn from a knockout. Ultra Ball, going to discard the Mega Heracross since I don't envision having to get a second Mega Heracross into play. And then discarding Pokemon Fan Club as well. Big Bang Horn, goodbye Lucario EX, 180 damage knockout. So now we're going to get rolling, baby. We're going to start knocking out these EXs left and right. We'll see what we can do. Got the Dusknoir ready. Maybe we can get Startling Megaphone and get our abilities back. Shadow Void, heal off some damage, and things are looking good. Muscle Band goes onto the bench. Landers EX, Chorus for 8 from my opponent. We do see a Burbank City Gym, though. So let's see. It's 30 in between turns. Mega Heracross does have 220 HP. Let's see. A Land's Judgment right now. Let's see. 1 strong energy does 170 if he discards. So, oh man, that's bad. If he has another strong energy, he can actually Land's Judgment for a knockout. Oh no, no, not cool. Oh, I can't believe this is happening. No, I took so long to set up that Mega Heracross, and it just gets knocked out immediately. And my opponent goes down to 1 prize. So perhaps this is why this deck is not very competitive. Took so long to set that up, and then my opponent just knocks it down with a Land's Judgment. Not cool, man. Alright, well, I'm going to promote Verzini X and see if we can pull something off here. I don't know. Oh yeah, I've used my Startling Megaphone too. So I'm going to have to use my Dowsing Machine at the right moment. Otherwise, I'm going to be in some trouble. Guess I could Dowsing Machine right now and grab the Megaphone and then end my opponent down to 1 card. Seems like a decent option. But you know what? I might just want to save it for a turn where I need to use Shadow Void and heal off my Pokemon. So I think I'm actually going to save the Dowsing Machine for now. We're just going to bench all these Pokemon and end my opponent to 1. right? At the very least, there's a Landorus with no energy active. Has a 3 retreat cost. There's no energy on my opponent's field, period. So I do have an opportunity to set up once again, but you got to think at some point my opponent's going to be able to take one prize, right? That's just okay. And there's a Juniper. Cool. Oh no, not what I was looking to see there. Ugh. So my opponent rebounds off the end of one with an immediate Professor Juniper back to 7 cards. But it's going to be tough for my opponent to get a prize right now. A Hammerhead wouldn't do it. There's no way. Even a Hammerhead and a Laser and a Strong Energy and a Muscle Band won't knock me out. So I'm perfectly safe this turn unless there's like a Pokemon catcher. We do see Strong Energy going on to the bench, Landorus EX, and the Muscle Band's already there. Hypnotoxic Laser. We'll see if my opponent has any way to retreat. Oh, so yeah, Floatstone. That's okay. All that stuff is happening. Hammerhead with a Strong Energy and a Muscle Band and a Laser. And I stay asleep. Okay. Well, fortunately for me, I did get Dowsing Machine off of my own end, so I can Dowsing Machine for the startling Megaphone. Otherwise, I would have lost the game here. So I do wake up now because of Verdant Wind. I can use Shadow Void. Things are actually looking decent now, and my opponent down to 1 again. So take that, opponent. And we're going to slowly but surely try to set up once again. At this point, I'm actually regretting discarding my second Mega Heracross, because I might actually have an opportunity to power up a second one, as strange as that is. Gonna Emerald Slash for 50, and yeah, go figure, there's 2 grass energy left. If I would have had that second Mega Heracross, maybe I could have just been running through my opponent's Pokemon at this point. I don't know. If we see another tool come down onto Garbodor, I probably just lose, though. Garbotoxin's going to pretty much end the game at this point, which is unfortunate, but hey, what can we do? There is a Strong Energy on the active, but hey, if there's not another tool left, then, well, I mean, Landorus only has that Strong Energy. It's only doing 50. Can't hit the bench because of Mr. Mime, and look at that, just a 50 damage Hammerhead. Huh. Well, that's weird. I'm going to go ahead and Ultra Ball, get rid of some dead cards there, take a look through the deck, and then see that there is nothing there. And let's see, I guess we can Shadow Void again. Doesn't really matter too much, I guess. There's no way to really get knocked out without Garbotoxin. And if Garbotoxin comes back, I lose anyway. So we're just going to Emerald Slash for 50, and then see what happens next. Okay, well, this game got a lot more interesting than I thought it would. I thought I would just get rolled over after that Land's Judgment knocked out my Mega Heracross immediately. But my opponent really got set back by discarding all 3 energy. Oh no. There's another Juniper. This is just not my game whatsoever. We do see another Hammerhead. No Pokemon tool, though. So still abilities on my side, which is huge, right? Bench Barrier still in effect. Shadow Void in effect. Verdant Wind in effect. All of these are very, very important. And a top decked Max Potion. So, ooh, man, this is getting very interesting at this point. We're going to be able to Shadow Void, put 12 damage counters on that Dusknoir, Max Potion, 12 of them off, and then Shadow Void even more. So we're going to move damage away from Virizion EX. I don't really know if I need to be doing that, but I'm going to go ahead and do that. And we've actually set it up perfectly with the Emerald Slash twice to go for a Giga Power. And perfect. Knocking out the Landorus EX. Good 2 prizes. Got a Max Potion. Got a Professor Juniper. Oh my goodness. How are we still in this game? We were down 3 prizes. Pushed up a Mega Heracross finally. Got a knockout. And then got knocked out immediately. And somehow, all of a sudden, it looks like my opponent just is running out of steam. Took all of those prizes early on and then just cannot seem to muster up the last one. Now, there are plenty of ways for my opponent to still muster up the last one. I mean, again, if Garbodor gets back online with a Garbotoxin, a Hypnotoxic Laser pretty much ruins my day. And then hitting the bench, taking away Shadow Void, that's just a recipe for disaster. So those are all things that can happen. A Lysander can probably target down Mr. Mime on the bench, and then I'll lose to that. But my opponent is running thin on a lot of stuff here. I don't know. This is going to be a nerve-wracking endgame sequence. I really don't know what's going to happen next. Oh, man. Can Heracross EX finish out the game? Oh, man. If I only had that last Mega Heracross, what was I thinking discarding it? If I had him right now, I would just be big bang horning everything. And, I mean, we'd be getting knockout. Game would be over. But no, now we're going to have to use Giga Power. Not exactly what I was looking for. We're going to get the Chorus for 9. I opted not to play the Max Potion just to have cards left in my deck when I drew 9 cards. Decking out is a minor concern at this point, but now I'll go ahead and use the Shadow Void while I still can. Move all the damage to the Dusknoir, and then Max Potion off 12 damage counters, which is beautiful to see. And hey, we found a Hard Charm. How about that? It only took us like 8 turns, but Hard Charm has come into play. That could have saved our Mega Heracross, but nope, just didn't get it in time. Gonna just go ahead and Giga Power for 80. Unfortunately, Hard Charm does not reduce self-damage like Eviolite does, so Giga Power would have hurt myself, and Land's Judgment is still very much so a concern, right? Now, that Hard Charm is very relevant. If my opponent had a strong energy here, he would then be 20 damage short on the Land's Judgment. And that would be, that would be me surviving. Without the Hard Charm, Land's Judgment with a strong energy would have been game over. Or just a Fighting and a Muscle Band would be game over. So that Hard Charm is actually very big here to prevent 20 damage on a big Land's Judgment, which could have been a game winner. All right, so pretty proud of the Hard Charm right there. Gonna get N down to 2 cards here. My opponent actually ends himself down to 1, and this looks like a golden opportunity to, I don't know, get a comeback here. I am afraid to just use Giga Power. I'm going to go ahead and Fan Club just to get rid of that. If I Giga Power and hurt myself and my opponent draws a strong energy, I lose. So I'm actually just going to hit for 80. And the next turn we can Guard Press and then reduce the damage by 20 even further. And I got to say, I'm liking my odds here. Bicycle comes down, though, and a Float Stone at any point could probably ruin my day. There's a Karina. We'll see if we see this Float Stone. My opponent can search for a fighting Pokemon and an item card. We'll see what comes out. We'll see if there's any Muscle Band left, if there's a Switch or a Float Stone, and no, looks like just a Hypnotoxic Laser. Oh. Alright, well, my opponent could be running out of stuff, and that's pretty crazy to think about. I think I only discarded 2 Float Stone. Maybe the last one is prized. Maybe my opponent only plays 2 of them. I don't know. We'll see if there's a Muscle Band left, how many strong energy are left. I mean, there's all sorts of variables here. I'm just going to go with the Giga Power for 80. Again, don't want to walk into the big old Land's Judgment, and I want to get the knockout with Guard Press. I really wish I had my Lysander here so I could just bring up that Landorus and win the game, but I'm sure my opponent's thinking the same thing. Wish I had a Lysander to bring out Mr. Mime and win the game. So I can't really complain about that. I will complain about me discarding Mega Heracross, though. I think I would have won the game if I had just gotten him out again. But I mean, how could I predict I would have time to Mega Evolve a second time? This is just a silly game. Alright, so my opponent gets another Fighting Energy onto the Landorus EX, and I'm very, very nervous about taking this knockout. So many things can go wrong. A Lysander is game over. on top of all of these other things that could happen. But if I don't take a knockout, I would actually, if I try to deck my opponent out, something like that, I would actually lose because I have less cards in my deck than my opponent. So I need to go on the offensive. If I can't deck him out, I need to just attack as soon as possible and put pressure on. So we're going to go with a guard press knockout. Heracross EX now has minus 40 damage to his name. And that means he will survive a Land's Judgment with a Muscle Man and a Strong Energy. So in order to be knocked out now, my opponent would need a Pokemon Tool, a Hypnotoxic Laser. That would be, 180 total damage. Strong Energy and a Muscle Band? Wow. Yeah, he'd need all that stuff. So now actually Heracross EX will survive. Pretty much no matter what happens. He will survive here. If my opponent has a Lysander, I could lose to that. But otherwise, Mega Heracross will, or not Mega Heracross, regular Heracross EX, the unlikely hero, will survive. And we're just going to see a Missile Jab from Lucario EX, just hitting for 10 damage. Oh my goodness. Gonna go with the Shadow Void here and just remove the 10, make it as difficult as possible for my opponent to do anything. And I'm actually going to drop the Hard Charm onto Mr. Mime, make it even more difficult for my opponent to get a knockout if he does get a Lysander or something like that. Now there's really no easy target to go after. And here we go. I think I'm going to end my opponent down to 1, my opponent and myself, just to say, you know what? I'm going to limit your options here. Here we go. And Giga Power. If you don't find a way to retreat your Lucario EX, I will Giga Power for 120 next turn, and I will win the game with Heracross. Oh no, Karina. Alright, so we may see some kind of a switch here. Maybe an escape rope, I don't know. But no, just a Hypnotoxic Laser. Oh man, if there's a tool on Garbodor and a laser, this could come down to a laser flip. But no, just the Missile Jab. And I cannot believe what I am seeing here. What a ridiculous game. And what a comeback for Heracross EX, the lone survivor. Oh my goodness. He just put the team on his back and Giga-powered his way to victory. What did we just see? Heracross EX, somehow after Mega Heracross EX falls to a giant Land's Judgment in a 21-minute, 42-second game, Heracross EX goes the distance with the aid of Dusknoir and Max Potion. And I have no idea how I won that game. Absolutely no idea, but hey man, this is just magical. I don't even have words for that. That is a silly comeback. So there's a lot of fun deck ideas that came out with Furious Fist. I encourage you guys to try out all sorts of different combinations of cards. Seems like the metagame is pretty wide open right now, but hope you guys enjoyed the video. I will certainly have some more for you soon. I am Pooka from the Top Cut, and I'll see you guys next time.